In a previous video, I showed you how to do the seed stitch, which is this right here, and I talked about moss stitch. Now there is a lot of confusion between what is actually seed stitch and what is moss stitch, so I'm going to show you what the difference is. So seed stitch was knit one, purl one, and then alternate purl one, knit one on the next row. Moss stitch starts the same. It's knit one, purl one, and you go all the way across the row. So you get to the end of your row, and when you turn your work, on a seed stitch, you would now purl here. For a moss stitch, you're actually going to knit. So you're going to do the same pattern across the second row, which is knit one, purl one. And I'm doing this over an even number of stitches. What you want to do with moss stitch is you want to, in rows 1 and 2, you want to match the stitches. So you see how you have the bump here that indicates a purl stitch? You're going to purl here. For seed stitch, you would have knit that and you would have purled this stitch instead of knitting it. You're going to go pull my yarn all the way across this row as well. And when you see in patterns how it'll say in pattern, what they mean is in the established pattern. So in this case it is knit one, purl one for rows 1 and 2. So when you get to the end of row 2, you've now done 2 rows of knit one, purl one all the way across. For rows 3 and 4 of the pattern, you're going to alternate that with purl one, knit one. So you're going to purl the first stitch, which is a knit stitch, and then you're going to knit the purl stitch, just like in seed stitch. And you are going to repeat the purl one, knit one all the way across. And then you get to the end of the row. So that's rows 1, 2, 3. And you see how we get a slightly different pattern forming than down here. In row 4, you're going to repeat purl one, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, all the way across the row. And that is moss stitch. So the difference between moss stitch and seed stitch is seed stitch alternates rows, and moss stitch alternates every 2 rows. So you have the 2 rows and 2 rows, and it is a 4-row pattern repeat. Again, this is another really great filler stitch. It looks really nice on baby blankets and in Afghans. Every once in a while I will see the stitch in sweaters and it looks absolutely beautiful. So there is moss stitch. A little bit more open than seed stitch, but looks just as pretty.